You here with George. George does all our merch. He also does all the timestamps on our YouTube channel. So this is the infamous George. George, why don't you show him some stickers and some merch?
Bong.
Yeah, what's going on with the merch, George? Where are our t-shirts? Where are the rash guards? Everybody wants to know.
End of October, early November.
Yeah. George, do you subscribe to the Happyville on YouTube?
Of course.
Do you share useful videos with all your friends?
Immediately.
Do you smash the like button when you see good videos?
Like immediately.
Yo, be like George, like, share, subscribe.
Everything's exactly the same. We're still going into this whole 2-on-1, and he bases on the far side, and now I go kick out, and I'm sitting here like this. And now, how's this going to play out? I'm going to throw a triangle up like this from this distance. This is not going to, and now he's going to go. By the time I come in here, he's coming up already, and he's probably going to stack me with this leg, clear me, and pass me on this side. Possible, right? So I'm sitting back so far back on this line, I just kick this out like this, right? Let's go back so they can see it from the beginning. Super slow. I'm peeling 2 behind 1. He defends. I kick out. Now we're like this. And I just hit this blade facing that way, okay? And now I got this leg coming out of the pocket. I'm trying to figure out, do I hit this triangle? I think it's too far. I'm sitting so far back. So remember how this hand was like this? I'm going to straighten out this socket so it's straight like this. I don't want it pulling back on me. So when you see this angle change, this hand that was here is now going to rotate the hand to this pocket. So you're like this. So now, right now, if we talk about muscular contractions and how the body works, right now basically he's in a pull-up position. Like even though he's here, mirroring the floor, he's still in this pull-up position that the lat muscle pulls back on me. Right? So I'm like this, sitting back on this, okay? So I straighten him out off of this shoulder because as I'm straightening out, this is how it's looking. Now it has no strength, right? It's straight. It's not going back into the socket. But as I'm rotating, I'm shelving it on the inside. Now remember I told you why I had you facing the blade that way, because now my kneecap is behind this deltoid, it's tight on the tricep, and now I can pick how I take this. Right, so we're going to, at this point, go to omoplatas on this. So I'm going to ask you to do this very, very simple. We're not going to stop off and catch a Kimura. We're going to throw this over his face right away. So in one shot, this clears his face, and now my secondary leg comes out. Do one favor for me. Do not take this leg and do this right now. You have no reason to do this. He's going to go vertical and pull his arm out right away on you. So when this is where I was, okay? I'm here like this. I just straightened him out, and now we're here. And I just told you, clear his face, okay? And my secondary leg comes out as far out as possible. Because as I take this leg out, what I really wanted to do was reface you. Right now, if you think about me mechanically, all of my body weight is sitting on this one sector. That's all it is, okay? This is where I am. So the reason I'm having you take this leg out, it's because I want to make as big a tilt off these toe lines to come back into facing you. How this happens at this point, what occurs next, I don't know. But I'm going to ask you to do BJJ 101, which I am not a believer in. I do not believe that you can finish a high-level player without a gi and an omoplata unless the disparity in skill and strength is too great. Because at some point, now you're like this, okay? Now at some point, I either have to throw my hands and hike myself up, either grab onto him, and I'm supposed to bring myself up, cross my legs, bring my feet behind me, get under this armpit, and finish him. And you absolutely will see it done in class, highest levels, without the gi, it's hard. You're gonna tell me that this guy sat there like that? If he sits there and gets caught, it's because he hasn't been taught. He just has too much of a skill disparity, knowledge, strength is just too drastic. Guy's 6'5", guy in the bottom's 5'5". Guy grabs him with these long arms. Yeah, he could do it, absolutely, because the disparity is so great. But skill to skill, there's no way. There's too many things to catch up on. But let's do it, okay? So you get into the habit of finishing the omoplata, right? You're like this, and I just told you everything. We all had real counters, so there's some portion of this, even if you're not an Omoplata person or maybe you don't do these drag, there's some portion of this that works for everybody. So I just went on this peel and he based, right? My feet were here. So I kick out this leg. And then what I told you before, we were here and now we're trying to gauge, am I like this, like this, like this? So in the second, in one I told you, you were up vertical so I can come quickly. On the second one, it's kind of like this at a 45, so I'm not too far. I paused that thing, I came up on a triangle. But on the last one, I'm like this. I really leaned back and I kicked him so hard. So I straightened out. As I straighten out this leg, this hand is rotating this way. So now he hits the pocket line on this side. He's on the inside shelf. Nothing has changed on me other than I'm taking this leg out to throw in front of his face. I throw it in front of his face for a reason, because he's going to try to come back to save the arm. I want to block this pocket, so I throw this over his face. So this leg that was here on this kick, once I'm here and I straighten him out, this leg clears his face. I do not cross my legs at this point. There's no reason to, okay? So my first reaction, because I got to understand his reactions, at this point, I know people will do this. Do not. There's no reason to at this point. He's going to run his hip line at me and start jumping over to this side. So go back 1 second. So the reason now you're going to see this like this, and I just told you to take this, because I want to face him and catch him before he runs at me. So as I'm doing this and he's running at me, I'm here dropping him and coming out as far out as possible so that I can clear and come back up. So there's a reason why I'm asking you to do the foot patterns a certain way. Throw it over. Take the leg out, do not cross your feet. You're gonna need that foot as far out as possible. And you're gonna also need it to run. And I'll explain right now what I mean by that. You're like this, right? And you just threw this over. And now let's say my feet were crossed here. And Nathan's running at me. And how am I gonna get out, right? Come back a second. So when I landed like this and Nathan's running at me, I wanna keep being able to shrimp out, shrimp out, shrimp out. Because he's going to try to clear me over the top. I don't know at what point do I have to go to a toe hold. I don't know yet. So we're not going to go there yet. So I want you first that you're kicking out the leg. You understand everything that occurred right now and how the game played out. I kicked out the leg, right? I kick the same thing. I'm here. He defends. I kick out the leg. I'm like this. I pause. I go, man, it's too far away. So I pause here. Now I got the arm straight. It's not going anywhere. It's not super strong right now. Okay, it's not going to go into the socket. I paused him here, I kick this out. It transfers to the hip socket. Now I take this leg and I clear his face, right? We don't cross our feet. I throw my leg over and this is how my feet are right now. I want this leg for a reason. I want to be able to shrimp and reface. I never let go of the position within that triangle. I was always holding on to this. All I did was keep my calf muscle inside that triangle pit. I held the pit for as long as I possibly can till I can reface him. We're going to say BJJ 101, we had a dead duck, he didn't move. It's not real, but let's do it. I'm coming up. I cared about one thing when I come up. I care about this back leg. I care about him jumping over. So as I'm here coming up, I'm retracting my feet and now they can cross. I cared about one thing right now, getting this elbow over that hip. If I can get the elbow over the hip, it's a bonus if I can collect my hands together on a quarter Nelson on the other side. Okay, so I bring my hand over. If I can touch my feet, my hands together, great. I bring my feet back as far back as possible, and now I thrust my hips forward to break the shoulder. Okay, so don't keep your feet out here because that's not real. I need to bring my hips in front of my knees, so I retract them back. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it up. So as I'm gonna keep my body lined up. As I'm lifting, I'm thrusting forward, but at the same time, I'm holding position here. So, I'm sorry. Yeah, so that I can get as much torque and power on that shoulder to dislocate it. Okay, guys, let's partner up and do it. Let's rock. Thank you. I see some people going like this, going up on this elbow, and now what's gonna happen is, I'm coming up on this elbow, I'm facing that way when I told you to face this way, and now as I'm coming up like this, remember I'm facing this way, he runs his hip at me, and he jumps over, and now I'm landing like this, and he's cross-facing me, and this all went south. All went south when you had a really great advantage. Okay, so I'll do it again. He's like this, right? And I'm like this. And I just told you, take this leg. This is where you were. I told you, take this leg. You were here on the shoulder. You straightened it out. And now you come over and you throw this over. And now I see this again. I'll just show it again. Guys are coming up on this elbow. I'm still facing the wrong way. I want you to always think you're looking at him. So I'm facing away. And as I'm doing this, to come up and do all of this transfer to bring these, before I ever get there, he doesn't stop backing up, and he's on behind my deltoid, and now we land like this. And now he's behind this deltoid, and he cross faces me, and he takes my side control. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you to face him at this point. So when you came over the top like this, I don't want him getting behind his deltoid. So I pull this thing down, and with this far side leg, I reface him right away, okay? Now we're here, okay? We will get to the point that you want to get to. So my first reaction, I told you he was going to run at me. That's what he should do. He has another roll also that he does. The somersault is the worst one you could do, but that's the one that most people do. We won't go through those yet. Like this, I'm facing this way at this point. I don't want him jumping over me, all right? I want to come up, so I cover his hip with this hand. Because worst case scenario, we're not going to do this right now. What's the worst case? Like he runs and does the same jump again, right? And now we end up, you're not behind me. You're never behind any of my deltoid lines. You're not behind my tricep. Okay, and if worst case scenario, your arm came out, we end up in a sloppy scramble where I got a beautiful angle to come in at the back quadrant or maybe take back or step over to a mount. I had a great spot to capitalize at different angles right there. So it didn't go south for me, okay? You jumped, okay, but I was in a good position to land. I'll take that exchange, right? You're now your top player looking at him from a great angle set. So when I said before, you're like this. You're not looking away. You're not coming up on this elbow. As I land this leg and I reface, I know what you wanted to do. So let's drill this a little bit different. This hand's going to cover this hip, and this hand is going to look to push this ankle out. So remember I told you, don't worry about crossing yet. If you lose this, you lose this, and I don't mind if you lose it because I told you it's a crappy percentage move in nogi on those omoplatas. You can go and archive and who's number one and watch for the next 2 years. I don't know if anyone's pulled one off in there in nogi, high level. So I want to push this ankle out as I pull and walk backwards with this. Now I'm here. Now this is different. Go back a second. So when I first threw this out, I went, I'm facing him. I'm pretending that in case he runs at me, you're not going to clear this hand. You better be a good somersaulter. So I got my hand up in the air. It's coming down on his hip. My far side hand, this hand is doing its best to get to these toes, or we're not going to go toe hold yet. I'm going to look to push this ankle out as I keep shrimping. All of my body weight is focused on one quadrant so you don't stand up and get this arm out, okay? What's the other worst case scenario? He somersaults on this shoulder, somersaults, just jump over, like standard jump over. Okay, so I came up. What's the big deal? I never lost position. I'm gonna be good here, I'm gonna be good on the other one, I'm gonna be good on all of them, but I held his position. Now come back up for good. So you're like this right now. You just covered his hip, you're pushing his shoulder out. I'm biting on super tight with my calf onto his biceps so I don't lose this arm, right? And I'm shrimping out. And this is where I am. As I'm pulling and pulling and pulling, the moment his hip hits the ground, I used my far side hand, the one that's on the hip, just to get this elbow over. I'm not looking to grab you. I'm looking to get this the rear tricep over this hip. So when I come up, I only cared about one thing. I could just land it over the top. Now you do everything. I don't need strength at this point. So if you decide that you want to come up the turtle, you're bringing me up. I'm not going in. Now I'm perfectly set that I'm either locking in, I was controlling the hip, and now I'm thrusting forward with the hips. Okay, so let's do it again with some real deep details, because later on what they're going to do is they're going to jump, they're going to backstep, they're going to hide the leg, they're going to do so many things. They're going to be ready to counter everything. I'm not stopping the hunt. Okay, once I'm on the hunt, you got to go for it. So let's partner up and do it. Let's rock. Look at him. Go. So you're like this, right? And you did everything exactly the same. As you come here, he runs back at you. No. Reface me this way. So this becomes, come forward. Yeah. This is how we end up. because he runs back aggressively. This was sitting on his throat. Only thing I'm going to do is just grab on like a tie clinch and start pressing this in. So it does happen. You okay, kiddo? Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. So it does happen because what happens is you're like this, right? And now you did everything exactly the same. You're like this. And you just threw it, and now you're trying to shrimp out. And this guy is running at me, trying to barrel back into me because he knows I'm trying to take this arm from him. But I just cleared this over his foot, and I'm trying to straighten up, and he keeps coming forward. So it is what it is. This is under his throat. I won't do it. Yeah. Right? So you can see how it's like, that's how I want you to throw that thing over. What's the worst case? He runs at you. Does he backstep? Does he run his hip line? Like, I'm ready to answer every call, but I also got to be ready to answer that one. Okay? Just in case he was so strong that he comes up on me. So just don't randomly, when I told you to clear this, it's clearing like this. So when he comes forward on me and I'm shrimping, square back up. Yeah. So as he's coming, this is where he is. It's sitting under his throat. The only thing I have to do is get hold of that head. So this thing normally is like this, and it's bent, and now I'm driving back in. But it's a byproduct of him getting isolated and trying to muscle forward. Okay? I told you it does work. Absolutely. I forget if it was, Jay, do you remember? I forget. I don't know if anybody remembers who was it? Was it Nick Diaz? Nick Diaz did. Yeah, there you go. If you guys, I'm sure that's on YouTube. He finishes the Omoplata from there. It's a good, beautiful move. And against a high-level player, I forget who it was. Oh, yeah. Okay, so young Martin knows, man. Guys, I'll give you 5 minutes. I showed you a bunch of different variations. On Friday, we'll do a couple of other variations depending on how they angle themselves. Okay, guys? Let's partner up. You got 5 minutes, guys. If you forget, go on Happy Pill. Those videos were non-stop on how we get behind here, how we insert, how we recover, hip flips, everything. So you should be really kind of coordinated if you read long. If you haven't, if I see all messed up, I'll be yelling at you. You don't watch the Happy Pill. Okay, guys? So let's do it.